Hello learners! In the last video, you learnt about two broad categories of a research design, that is, the exploratory research design and the conclusive research design. In this video, you will be learning about descriptive research designs in detail. Descriptive research designs can further be classified into cross-sectional and longitudinal designs. Let's first start discussing the cross-sectional designs. These designs involve the collection of information from any given sample of population elements only once. The cross-sectional studies are often described as snapshots of the population. They may be single cross-sectional designs or multiple cross-sectional designs. Single cross-sectional designs are those designs in which there is only one sample of respondents and the information is obtained from this sample only once. Example of this type of design is when data is collected from respondents regarding their shopping habits at one time only. Multiple cross-sectional designs. In this design, there are two or more samples of respondents and information from each sample is obtained only once. Often, information from different samples is obtained at different times. The next type is a longitudinal design. Here, a fixed sample of population elements is measured repeatedly on the same variables. A longitudinal design differs from a cross-sectional design in the way that the sample or the samples remain the same over the time. There are three types of longitudinal research. That is, the time series research, the panel study, and the cohort analysis. Time series research is a longitudinal study in which the same type of information is collected on a group of people or other units across multiple time periods. The panel study. In a panel study, the researcher observes exactly the same people, group, or organization across time periods. It is difficult to carry out such a study. The next is the cohort analysis. This is similar to the panel study, but rather than observing the exact same people, a category of people who share a similar life experience in a specified time period is studied. The focus is on the cohort or the category, not on specific individuals. Commonly used cohorts include all people born in the same year, also called birth cohorts, and all people hired at the same time. Also, the basic difference between the cross-sectional design and the longitudinal design is that in case of cross-sectional design, the data is collected from respondents only once, whereas in the longitudinal design, the data is collected over a period of time from the same respondents. Now let's discuss the causal or the experimental design in detail. Causal or the experimental research is used to obtain evidence of the cause and effect or causal relationships. Managers continually make decisions based on assumed causal relationships. For example, if-then statement. The common assumption that a decrease in price will lead to increased sales and market share does not hold in certain competitive environments. Causal research is appropriate for purposes like: number 1, understanding which variables are the causes, that is, independent variables, and which variables are the effects or the dependent variables of a phenomenon. The second is determining the nature of relationship between the causal variables and the effect to be predicted. Now let's discuss the major differences between an exploratory and a conclusive research designs in terms of research project components. The first is the research purpose. The research purpose of exploratory research is general, that is, to generate insights about a situation, whereas for conclusive research it is specific, that is, to verify insights and aid in selecting a course of action. The next is data needs. Well, data needs of exploratory research are vague, whereas those of conclusive research are clear. Data sources of exploratory research are ill-defined, whereas those of conclusive research are well-defined. Data collection form of exploratory research is open-ended and rough, whereas that of conclusive research is usually structured. The sample for exploratory research is relatively small and subjectively selected to maximize the generalization of insights, whereas the sample for conclusive research is relatively large and it is objectively selected to permit generalization of findings. The data collection procedure of exploratory research is flexible and there is no set procedure, whereas for conclusive research it is rigid and it is a well laid out procedure. Data analysis for exploratory research is informal and typically non-quantitative, whereas for conclusive research, data analysis is formal and typically quantitative. Inferences and recommendations in the case of exploratory research are more tentative than final, whereas those for conclusive research are more final than tentative. So learners, in this video, you learnt about the experimental design and the descriptive design. Thank you.